It's 7:03, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Cassie, can you take roll?
Yes. Okay, so I have Chair Wendy,
I'm here.
Vice Chair Jose,
Present.
Commissioner Kelly,
Here.
Commissioner Thorson,
Present.
Commissioner Jolly,
Present.
Commissioner Sizer,
Yes, sir. Present.
sorry about that.
That's okay.
Commissioner Allen,
Here.
Commissioner Reyes,
Present.
Commissioner Brown,
Here.
Commissioner Mendoza,
Present.
Commissioner Ramos,
Probably still on baby leave.
and our new commissioner, Commissioner Westfall.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you. I know I was looking at all the commissioners that are new. Welcome. We're really excited. I haven't gotten to meet anybody yet until now because Jose, thank you very much, covered for me last time. So I just want to say welcome. It looks like we only have, as a side note, 3 vacancies left. So that's pretty cool. I know some advertising has gone out. I certainly pushed it out through my social network. So we're just hopeful for the last 3. Okay, we're gonna move to our consent calendar. Our consent calendar, of course, those that have been around for a while include both our September agenda and the minutes of the regular meeting on August 17, 2022. Yes, Ann.
Before you approve today's agenda, we aren't recommending to change any material items. We are requesting to change the order so that the first item that's heard is the security update, and then we will go into the Youth Commission agenda. So just changing from the original posting item 4 up to item 1, and that being the only change.
So just so I've got it right, you're going to move the information item security to the first presentation and then the rest in the same order.
Yes.
All right. With that friendly change, can I have a first or a motion?
Both.
Thank you. Can I have a second?
Commissioner Allen, I move the agenda with the change of order.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Can I have a second to Commissioner Allen?
Commissioner Jolly seconds that.
Thank you, Commissioner Jolly. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? And does anyone need to abstain? Even though I wasn't here, I'm not abstaining because I read the package, actually before and after. All right, moving right along. We still, Cassie, have no public correspondence. Is that still true?
That is still true.
All right, great. And we, of course, are meeting and have an open forum. If there's anyone in the public that would like to make comments to the commission or express themselves, there will be 2 minutes on the clock. And do we have anyone, I'm looking around, or Cassie, that would like to give public comment in our open forum?
There are no members of the public.
All right, moving right along. It's going to be a quick one, I think. Well, we'll see. As we're going to move into our discussion items, and it looks like tonight all are informational items. So most everything will move along in that particular way. We're going to have our first information item around security. And I am grabbing.
Hi, everyone. I'm really happy to introduce our facilities, fleet, what do we call her now? Fleets, Facilities and Security Program Manager. You've seen her before here, Ann Tran. She'll be delivering the security report tonight. So,
Thanks, Jenny. Good evening, commissioners. Thank you so much for your flexibility. As you can see, I am in my car. So this is what happens when you have a 4-year-old that you have to shuffle around. So thank you so much for bearing with me. Tonight, I'm very honored to present to you our safety and security update. Next slide. If you recall, for many years, the library had one full-time security position. And in 2018, we have advocated to add additional positions, bringing us to 2.5 positions for in-house security, as well as supplemented some of the security coverage with contract security. You'll see here, the gray boxes indicates that we now have a deeper security bench, bringing us to 5.5 total FTEs, full-time employees, with 1 part-time security officer. We are also in the final process of bringing on board a security services supervisor to oversee the security team. So very happy about the additional staffing that we have received to not only support our current security demands, but also help us support the staff as we expand our library hours to Sunday. Next slide, please. You know, the library serves all customers equally and is open to everyone. And our goal is to create a secure, relaxing, and pleasant space to learn and explore. And the way that the security team has structured our vision of keeping libraries open and safe is the enforcement of the behavior policy. We also work to help our staff be more empowered with explaining our behavior policy, enforcing that on their end. And then our team helps with the suspensions, the approvals, and then running alongside all of the public facing and incident management and incident response. The security team is prepared to take on more in the realm of education and staff training. And as I go back to looking at the positions, our new positions account for that training capacity where the security officers would do more training with the staff, more engagement, and helping the staff better implement behavioral policies, as well as helping to troubleshoot any areas where incident response could be better communicated, better responses. Next slide. I want to give you an update on the Security and Safety Committee focus group. We have done quite a bit of work around privacy policy and surveillance, and as well as our communication with law enforcement. The security team has also looked at security staffing and workplace violence training. We also implemented some trauma-informed care and operations in our focus group, as well as revisited the behavior policy, as well as especially around creating more succinct talking points and a more standardized range of suspension guidelines to help the staff get consistency across the system. And then as our SharePoint migration work is rolling out to create more consistency across the board, the Safety and Security Committee has also taken on revamping our SharePoint page so that information can be shared quite quickly across the system. Another update to where we've been is that the focus group work is a result of keeping the Safety and Security Committee engaged. A running theme across all of this work, the policy work and the training and implementation, is that we are getting ready to review the recommendations of our security assessments, and we would need the Safety and Security Committee to support us with implementation of those recommendations, as well as members of our executive leadership team. Next slide. One of the things that we constantly talk about at the policy level, and especially in Safety and Security Committee, as well as the security unit, is that incident communication is so important. And across the board, our goal is to look at libraries' privacy. How do we balance that with security, surveillance, how do we balance that across the board with maintaining our patrons' privacy, but also the privacy of incidences that surface, especially the more critical and severe ones. And more public incidences, we have to look at our records policy as well as our code of ethics and how the staff navigates media and media requests. And that's something that we're trying to look at the policy level, but also empowering our staff to take some stake in developing protocols and procedures around that. Next slide. I think last year we gave you a briefing on the incident tracker. So here is our 21-22 update. The bars in red represent branches that currently have an augmented security structure. So it would be a combination of in-house security staff frequenting these branches in red more often, and then also having some level of contract security on a regular basis. So the branches you see here are Alum Rock, Biblioteca Latinoamericana, Bascom. We've added Hillview to the security contract security roster as well. And then we are working on supplementing security coverage for Tully, and we have it at Joyce Ellington, an educational park. Next slide. So within the last fiscal year, the library has offered the following trainings to staff. So dangerous and disruptive behavior was carried out in-house by our in-house security, active shooter training at certain branches, workplace violence training extended to all branch, including King staff, a series of trauma-informed and resiliency training, especially after one of the more critical incidents that happened at Hillview branch. And then, like I said, on-site active shooter training at select branches. So some of the branches, especially on the east side, have received on-site active shooter training as well as King staff. And then more specifically to the King Library, we've also re-engaged our building emergency team to focus and help us on building evacuation and more of the building safety aspects of King. Next slide. Oh, can you go back? I forgot to mention the numbers. So our current count indicate that of a system of more than 800, about 709 participants have attended at least one trauma-informed training. And you'll see that about half have completed active shooter and workplace violence trainings. And I want to address the discrepancy in this number. Obviously, we have made both trainings mandatory. The active shooter trainings, like I have mentioned, has to happen in smaller numbers and are preferred at branches, although we have found a way with SJPD to make it online with the option of San Jose's PD following up at specific branches if staff need more support. Next slide. So with that, I want to wrap up my update regarding library security. I greatly appreciate the time and coming up on my 1-year anniversary at the library. This is a great way to celebrate. So thank you.
That's great. Congratulations. All right. We really appreciate that. Not only the comprehensive data around it, but certainly the presentation around the investment. That is really, really wonderful. Okay, so let's see. I just want to make sure I'm in the right order. So let me see if we still have no public, so I'm not going to ask for public comment, and since no one's here. Let's see, commissioners. I didn't see who had their hand first, but I'll go with who's on my screen first. Commissioner Kelly.
Yes, thank you very much. Boy, that was a good presentation. I'm so excited to hear that. This is a special interest of mine. I brought it up on several occasions, so thank you and happy anniversary. 1 year. A couple of questions, and I'm going to talk specifically about Bascom Library because I'm a member of the Friends group there and I spend a lot of time at the Bascom Library. There are security people there that are contractors and they're very young and they don't really seem to know what to do. Is that part of the retraining or rehiring or change of the way you've structured that? They just kind of stand around and don't do much.
So we have had unpleasant experiences with our last security vendor, and the improvements that we put in place is that we actually went out and sought a new security provider. And the goal is to provide consistency as well as having the security officers more embedded with the staff. So our new security vendor is called First Shield Security, and they, to my knowledge, they've been well received by the staff and provide adequate support. We put them through a 16-hour post-training with our security officers so that they not only understand the library behavioral policies, our protocols, and our escalation protocols as well. And we ask the staff if there's any critical incidents that needs escalation, their first round of notification would be to their supervisor as well as our security team.
Great news. I haven't seen any security at Bascom for quite some time. So I know there's been some serious incidents there that have been troubling. So appreciate that and look forward to the change. Is there a schedule that's going to come out for Bascom?
Bascom is already on the security schedule, Commissioner Kelly. The current time frame is once every other day, including Saturdays.
So what happens on the days that they're not there? How is that handled?
We supplement with in-house security officers. So like I've mentioned, we've grown the security team to 3 in-house officers. They roam, they divide up their branch oversight, and Bascom is under 1 security officer's purview. And when there are responses or incidents that need responses, we always send 2. And that has worked out pretty well for us.
Good. Thank you on that. The focus group that you were talking about, was that just your group, or did you reach out to the staff at the libraries and have them part of the focus group and maybe one of the friends groups to have their input? Was that done?
We're always looking for more people to join the security committee, Commissioner Kelly. Currently,
I volunteer.
I will make note of that. Well, currently we have it to the security committee members, and it's really developing the framework on what needs to be improved, what can we revisit, and then how they can help us champion enrollment and recruitment to the rest of the staff.
Yeah, I think boots on the ground, people that really observe what's going on a day-to-day basis can be helpful. Let me see in my notes. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Appreciate all your answers. Those are great. Thank you. Count me in.
Thank you so much.
I saw Commissioner Zister was next.
Hi, Ms. Tran. Thanks for the amazing work and the really helpful presentation. Important stuff. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. So to what extent do you coordinate with, I know you mentioned SJPD, but to what extent is there coordination with SJPD in terms of them providing some, presence at some of these libraries?
So our security officers off the bat, they align their, their coordination with the division captains. And we encourage the branch staff to do so as well. So to the extent that SJPD visits the branches, we have that commitment, especially from Captain Todd Trayer, especially for the East Side branches. Our coordination also happens at the Jenny and Jill level. So they're pretty much updated with our priorities and any incidents that need their attention. A good example that I can give is, after our Hillview branch incident, SJPD committed quite a bit of officer time to support us during branch reopening, and did so the following week after, so that we can then pick it up with, contract security and then our in-house security. And that has been the invitation that we've extended to all of SJPD officers, is come in, use our facilities, check in with our staff, maintain that presence. And so far, I'm hopeful that the staff will be more comfortable in reaching out with to PD, and our response times can be quicker, but that's a capacity issue as well.
Capacity on the PD side, is that what you mean?
Yeah, because there are some times where you know, our incidents does need PD support, but our direction to the staff is that if it's dangerous, if it threatens life, limb, property, please call 911, and then we will notify the division captains that there's a 911 call needed.
But in terms of, response times, I mean, obviously that would be important information, but I guess my question is about sort of a preventative presence, a deterrent presence, but beyond that too, PD building trust with your folks, that they do feel comfortable, they do feel like they know PD will respond and cares about what's going on there. Is that, I guess, to simplify the question, I mean, how are you satisfied? What is your level of satisfaction with PD's level of engagement, presence, not response times, but preventative deterrent presence?
I think that we're heading to a point where we can ask PD for training support, and they have delivered that. In terms of creating, you know, a relationship with the staff, we encourage our staff to reach out, and to from what I understand and from what I've heard from the staff, they have been pretty responsive, especially the division captains.
Okay.
Commissioner, if I could jump in, just from I think maybe this might add to answer your question. Really from an organizational level, we have always partnered with the PD because, you know, maybe that this, for me, I don't know if this was the essence of your question, but for me, you know, the reality is the library is a library department. We provide library services, which are vast, and we certainly adapt to many needs. We are not the law enforcement or the safety force for the city of San Jose. And so when our staff or our patrons are in situations where they need that kind of safety, the police really needs to be the partner that meets that need. And so it's a conversation that our city manager, our chief of police, I've worked with now, I think 3 or 4 chiefs in my time here. And every time, you know, we build that relationship because we all want to make it really clear that they're supposed to play that role. We push, we advocate for different solutions, to your point, to have more presence, from having, what are those called, like community service officers. Back when the PD was having a really hard time recruiting, it was even harder to always have the responsiveness that we needed. So we're always looking for new solutions in partnership with the PD. And, you know, we're always trying to think like, what is the right solution to safety in libraries? Is it to have a constant armed presence? Is it to, you know, or can we, right now, what we're trying is a really varied response that has to do with, you know, community engagement, lots of training, lots of, you know, yes, engaging our police force, but not having that be the you know, constant presence. But I'm actually open to anything. So if you have ideas, let us know.
No, and I would never, I'm the last one that will suggest a constant presence. I think you probably could guess that. We don't want to discourage people from, you know, some people don't feel safe around police, so we don't want to discourage their engagement. But actually the reason for my question, Jill, was precisely that we're talking about a small number of security staff, failure of a prior security contract. This is not the library's expertise. And we have another city agency whose expertise it is to provide security. So I'm just curious about that. This is not, I agree. It really, the burden should be, maybe you're not saying exactly this. I know, I just have one other question. I don't want to take more than my fair amount of time here. And it was about the training that, and it looks like an amazing amount of training. Two questions. One, is that ramped up since the Hillview incident? Was this sort of a pre-existing thing? And then my second question is, would it be appropriate to invite members of the public or commissioners to attend some of those trainings? I think that would be an interesting insight into, and especially people who frequent the libraries, they might benefit from having that training about incidents that might occur while they're there. I'll just close before you answer those questions. I just want to say, you know, Jill, I saw you, I saw others at the Hillview reopening. It was very moving to be there. I saw and I heard the trauma that people experienced from that incident. It really was helpful for me to be there for myself to understand that. This is also very timely for me in Oakland, where I work. Outside of the Oakland city office buildings, just yesterday, there was a fatal shooting, and I was at an agency directors meeting today, and a lot of staff for the city of Oakland actually witnessed the shooting and the death of the person. And there was a lot of conversation today about healing and trauma and supporting staff. And I'm just personally grateful to your leadership, Jill, and the staff who have really stood up for their people and for the community to reopen in a way that was thoughtful, that was community directed, that felt safe, that had police there in an appropriate way. It's a really, really difficult thing to happen, and it shouldn't happen at libraries. It shouldn't happen at schools. It shouldn't happen in the plaza outside Oakland City Hall, but we can't control those things. And so you all are doing a tremendous amount of work to prepare people for those eventualities and to address the trauma that comes from those incidents. And I'm just personally very, very grateful. I can only imagine, Jill, what you've gone through following that incident, but clearly you've stepped up as a leader to really provide for the community and your staff. And I just really appreciate it.
Commissioners, Anne had to actually jump off, so I can handle the first part of that question, Commissioner. So we actually implemented the workplace violence and active shooter trainings, I believe, back in 2018. At the time, you know, we just made it an annual thing. We do partner with SJPD, their crime prevention unit would go out. This is pre-pandemic, of course. So we would try to do it in person, make sure every one of our staff at least took that once. I think since then we've recommended that we maybe do it twice or more a year, especially because of staff turnover and whatnot. So we paused it. We did pause it during the pandemic. It was a little bit hard to do, but we resumed some virtual trainings during the pandemic. And then, of course, as we kind of move forward, we recognize we still need to keep with these and you know, incorporate different training. So certainly training component is a big part of our security plan going forward.
Thanks, Jenny. And also regarding having commissioners or other members attend, we can look into that. There may be opportunities for us to host different types of trainings that would be appropriate. As you know, what Jenny's answer also illustrated that we always have had trainings around dealing with issues around mental illness, folks who might cause you know, a ruckus in a branch, might be difficult on a given day. And library staff, if most of you use our libraries, you know that they're actually very good at dealing with those kinds of situations. The more extreme incidents of violence are the ones that it's really hard. You don't know when it's going to happen, as you said, and the trauma is long lasting. And so how do we best prepare for that? So we are looking at both ends, but we've always had a big focus on more of the behavioral issues in libraries that we see occasionally. I also just want to say thank you to the commissioner. I don't know if I deserve that praise. I definitely feel that my team and the team at the branch have been amazing, and we're all, you know, just trying to support each other and learn from it. So thank you for those comments.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. I saw Commissioner Westfall's hand up, I think, but now it's down. Would you like to make
I was just trying to get a little bit of context, given this is my first meeting regarding, it seems like this conversation is geared with the security more toward the serious type of incidents, if you will, or the more impactful. Would that be a fair statement, or is this policy something that is kind of soup to nuts from rambunctious children all the way up to active shooter and everything in between?
I think more towards the latter, which is library security has always been in place to assist staff for any incidents that may be difficult for them to handle. And so, like, you know, like you were saying,
librarians deal with rambunctious kids a lot. Maybe you have rambunctious kids at the same time that somebody is like yelling or throwing a chair or something. So, you know, we have there's a spectrum of issues that security deals with. And that's really one area. I'm glad that you asked it, because having Anne come in, Anne Tran, as our manager, I'm sorry if you can hear my dog losing his mind. She has brought a lot of analysis, and we're really being able to look at the spectrum of incidents that, you know, while incidents happen at branches, the vast majority might be something that staff can handle quite easily. Stuff that we have a very organized and thorough approach so that it's consistent in every branch. You know, staff don't have to tolerate being, so sorry, they don't have to tolerate being verbally abused, you know, things like that. So we take care of all of those different types of potential behaviors that are not appropriate for a library. But again, like, we did have a shooting event in June of this year, and it's by far the most serious situation we've ever had. We've had some other hard things to deal with, but the shooting inside of a library is the first shooting inside of a public building in San Jose. And it was, I think, a week after the Uvalde shootings in Texas. So there was a lot of fear already. And it just really, you know, it was a big focus for us, the recovery from that incident.
Sure. Thank you for clarifying. Thank you.
And Commissioner Thorson.
Thank you. I was curious, you know, as it's been mentioned, some people don't find a police presence safe, or the police coming can escalate a situation. So I was wondering what the alternative alternative policing has been considered, whether there's kind of protocols for calling like a crisis intervention team or like an urgent mental and behavioral health responder in certain situations. Is that something that's already happening or being considered?
Yes, definitely, Commissioner Thorson. Thank you for that. So we do have some partnerships in place. For instance, our people assisting the homeless at King Library. So they're kind of on call. They help us navigate some of the homeless concerns that we have around the King Library, as well as a referral resource. And then we do have connections with the mobile response team at the county. So, you know, sometimes staff, it's really hard for our staff to kind of diagnose certain situations. Like, I think a lot of times it's some of this, you know, some of the behaviors can be indicative of a mental illness or an episode, or they could just be on, you know, under the influence of something. So I think the challenge is, you know, for our staff to kind of navigate those situations, but a lot of times they will call our security team or our dispatch, and our security team, actually, they've been receiving additional trainings in de-escalation and more so that way. And, you know, they do walk around with resources that they hand out to people. I think, you know, a nice story is, I think, you know, our security officers have actually helped people get assistance with certain like homelessness resources and stuff like that. So we've been able to get people connected in that way. And then, you know, of course, our staff, if they're unsure, we just ask them to call police. The dispatch can usually help advise whether they need to send out, you know, the different types of support, or if they actually need to deploy like an officer to the scene. But I know the city police department has been working a little bit harder to have resources to address mental health crises and whatnot. So you know, it's an ongoing thing that we're trying to always improve. So it's really good to hear the feedback. But if there's any other suggestions you have for us, we're happy to hear them.
Thank you.
Commissioner Zisser.
Just one last thing to piggyback. Thank you, Chair. To piggyback on Commissioner Thorson's extremely important question, which I appreciate. You know, this may already be happening, but, you know, I think it's been very exciting, this rollout of the 988 hotline, which is, for those of you who don't know, is the mental health crisis hotline. It's nationwide, and the purpose was to create an easy to remember, like 911, an easy to remember hotline. And I would just encourage, you know, where it's a low level, nonviolent situation involving someone with mental health that, I hope the library is keeping the 988 hotline in mind instead of going to the police where they can avoid it. Because as Commissioner Thorson said, there's concerns about police can escalate things inadvertently. But sounds like you guys are doing tremendous work and really having to do things that maybe aren't exactly what people envision being the focus of libraries, but really important stuff. So anyway, thank you again.
Great. Anyone else? Last call. All right, moving on. We will go back up to our Youth Commission announcement. And I think we have Chair Hong with us, but I'm not quite sure. It's in my notes, but I'm looking around the room.
Chair Huang actually graduated last year, so
Oh, there you are.
am their replacement.
Thank you, Chair Chen.
All right, so hi everyone, I'm Gordon, the chair of the Youth Commission this year, and I'm sure you guys missed me a lot since last month, but I'm just back again to really briefly summarize all of our activities and our upcoming plans. So we started off this month with our District 5 Commissioners Leadership Summit held in person at the Hillview Library Community Room over Labor Day weekend. So it featured a variety of guest speakers, including Chief of Staff Betty Duong, Patty Cortesi of the Eastside Union High School District Board, and many others. Attendance was good, people were attentive and engaged, and we intend to model future town halls and other community events after this one. We're also currently coordinating with the San Francisco Youth Commission to discuss a potential collaborative project in order to encourage a more cohesive statewide movement for youth activism so we can have an impact beyond the local scale. So to that end, we will also be hearing from the California Association of Student Councils, which is exactly what it sounds like, an association of student councils, at our next general meeting on the 26th. And we will also be reaching out to the commissions of our neighboring cities. So we're really excited about this new kind of phase of the Youth Commission. This is our first time we're really experimenting with this, but we're really hopeful, really optimistic, and I think it's going to work out great. And we're also working with the Office of the City Auditor to smooth out some details about the Youth Master Plan, which is a document that we hope will guide a new approach to preparing our youth for future careers. So it's coming along pretty nicely, though we may need to revise our timeline since we originally planned to finalize it by November. We also have a policy proposal regarding gender neutral bathrooms on the agenda that we will vote on in our coming meeting. And finally, our District 3 Commissioner will also be spearheading our annual survey of youth across the city that will help us decide which issues are priorities and need to be tackled right away. And lastly, we still have a vacancy for our District 8 Commissioner position, which is not ideal given that we really want to have voices from all across the city being represented. And we are working really hard to fill that. So the rest of this month and the coming month are really busy and packed, but we're prepared. And again, just thank you for your time. We really appreciate the opportunity to share what we're doing with the broader audience. And I'll see all of you again soon. So, yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner. All right, any comments, questions from other commissioners? Commissioner Mendoza.
Hi, thank you for the presentation. I am the commissioner for District 8, and so I would love it if we could connect. Perhaps I'll send you my information in the chat, and so I would love to put a blast out in our neighborhood and get that commission spot filled for you guys.
Of course, yeah, that would actually be really, really helpful. We've been working to try to fill the slot for a while now, and yeah, that'd be perfect.
Wonderful. Anyone else? All right, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Chen.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Mendoza, I'll reach out.
All right, moving on to the next informational item, which is our budget overview with Andrea.
Hi, I'm back. Going to introduce another one of our fabulous operation unit leads. So Andrea Maestro is our administrative officer and our fiduciary expert for the library. Take it away, Andrea.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners and Chair Wendy. So tonight, I'm very excited to go over the library department's budget overview. And so we'll get started. Next slide, please. So what we're going to cover today First is just going over what's included in the library's adopted budget. So our fiscal year 22-23 adopted budget was approved by City Council in June. And so our operating budget consists of approximately $66.1 million. And so our funding sources include general fund, library parcel tax. We have a small portion of capital funds that fund a couple of positions within our department, or portions of positions, I should say. Gift trust fund, and there is a 8 there. I am sorry about that. That doesn't belong there. It's only $155,000. And then our American Rescue Plan funding, which is $5.7 million, and that is one-time federal funds. And so we've been lucky enough to have some federal funding last year and again this year. And so eventually those funds will go away. In our operating budget included is our personal service, which is funding for all of our positions. And so we have 396.47 FTE. And so if we think about our $66.1 million budget, 78% of that is paying for our staff. And so our staff is definitely our hugest asset. And you can see that obviously based on all of our branches and the support there within the libraries, that's a big chunk of our budget. Moving on to our capital budget, it is approximately $28.9 million for the current fiscal year. And our funding sources are our branch library bond fund for $6.7 million, our construction and conveyance tax fund for $19.9 million, and then library parcel tax for $2.4 million. And so the city receives construction and conveyance tax revenues. And of that whole pot of revenues, the library gets 14.22% annually. And so the remaining portions go to other departments. And so that's per the municipal code. And so our 5-year CIP is approximately $48.5 million. And as you can see, our budget is pretty large and significant, but we have a lot of things to fund, which includes our staff, all of our facilities, our facility maintenance, all of our utilities, especially our joint expenses at San Jose State with the San Jose State University. Next slide.
Andrea,
Yes.
before we move on, could you clarify the gift trust fund amount? I think there might be a typo.
Yeah, it should be $155,000.
Okay, so that 8 shouldn't be there because we
The
all
8 should
got
not be there.
very excited.
Darn it.
No. So yeah, so $155,000. And so yes, so next slide, please. So next, we're going to move on to our actual budget outcomes for this year that were approved by council in June. And so there's 2 categories. There's our ongoing budget actions as well as the one-time budget actions. So ongoing, we were able to annualize the library hours restoration for our lower resource communities. So this was 13 branches that received the restoration of 4 hours that was previously cut due to COVID impacts. And so their hours were bumped up from 43 back up to the pre-pandemic 47 weekly hours. And so the staffing complement was 16.2 FTE. And so we're really happy that that was added permanently since it was one time in fiscal year 21-22. We also are really happy to get some additional staffing for our public safety, as you had seen in Anne's presentation. So that's great for our system and for the public. We also received approval to annualize our equity and diversity and inclusion staffing. So that was on a one-time basis for a couple of years. So we're very happy that that finally was made permanent. We also received ongoing funding for Family Friend and Neighbor program. So that as well was a one-time funded program last year. And so we're very excited that now that is an ongoing funding source to support that effort. We also had some other limited staffing conversions and efficiencies to improve some system-wide support that were included on an ongoing basis. Next slide, please. Some of our one-time budget actions. And so the Sunday hours, the reason why it's included as one time, we received funding For Sunday hours, now there's two sources of funding. One is the general fund. The general fund source of funding, which is approximately $1.6 million, is in fact ongoing. And the positions are all ongoing. The portion of the proposal that is only one time is $500,000 funded from the library parcel tax. And we have a commitment from the budget office that next fiscal year, 23-24, that will be moved over to ongoing funding, whether it be general fund or an alternate funding source. It's to be determined. So we'll be having those discussions in the upcoming budget cycle or the base budget process with the budget office. But we were successful at adding Sunday hours. And so that will be launched pretty soon. And so we'll be offering Sunday hours, and we had a staffing complement of 23.2 FTE added to support that effort. We also received one-time funding again for the SJ Aspires program. Last year, we received one-time funding, and this funding continues to be federal funds. And so it will be just one time this year again. We have our continued device access and digital equity funding. This $1.1 million is the amount that we have, but there were some additional cleanup actions that are going to be going to council in October for the city's annual report process that will change that dollar amount. And so, but we do have funding existing right now. We also received one-time funding for our childcare initiatives, $2.4 million. And so there's a variety of programs that are funded in that bucket. Summer learning program, early education, expanded learning, the tutoring program, college readiness, and classroom bundles for educators. I know that all of our teams are working really hard on getting all those programs implemented and moving along through the process. We also received approval to accept the Californians for All Youth Workforce Program state grant. So the total amount for the library was $3.2 million. And this was to support, or continue to support, I should say, and expand the Resilience Corps Youth Workforce Program, which is part of the Learning Loss Mitigation Pathway. And that was created last year initially with federal funds, and now it's moved over and expanded with the state grant funds. And so that's very exciting. And next slide. So before we jump into the annual budget process, I just want to quickly note that we did get great outcomes from our budget ads. We've got the Sunday hours. We have the 13 locations that now have the 47 hours permanently, but we still have not restored to pre-pandemic hours. And so our other remaining branches, as well as King, still have the 4-hour reduction, weekly hours reduction that was implemented as a effect of COVID. And so although we did have some very positive outcomes, we still have some ways to go to get back to pre-pandemic. And we had a number of things that were on our list that we wanted to move forward with, including Fines Free for All and a bunch of really exciting programs that we had that we were trying to move ahead before the pandemic hit. And so, as I said, we're really excited about what was offered or what was accepted and what's included, but we're also looking forward to the upcoming budget cycle and moving along other initiatives as well. So now we're going to get into the city's annual budget process. So this includes some key dates. When do items kind of go through the process? And so through September and October, there's the annual report adjustments. And so basically, these are adjustments based on actual, expenses that happened in the prior year and making sure that anything that needs to be carried over to this year is carried over. Then also there's an opportunity to recognize new grant funding or any other additional gifts or other types of activities that have happened since July 1st. November to December is also is our mid-year budget review. It's basically very similar to the annual report adjustments. We do other types of adjustments, including grant recognition, gift recognition, and then any other adjustments that might need to be made to department budgets or citywide revenues. October through January is when departments prepare and submit budget proposals. So budget proposals are typically always due to the budget office in late January. But as a department, we have to start working on that effort in October. And in addition to that, in December through January, you guys, the commissioners, build a budget subcommittee, and that subcommittee prepares the budget position message. And so that's in a really exciting time for you guys to be engaged in the budget process and be able to facilitate that creation of that letter and really let the council and mayor know what you want the focus of the library budget to be. In February, we have the mayor's budget town hall meetings, another opportunity for commission or anyone of the public to be engaged in the budget process. There's the mid-year budget review that council approves at council. And then in February also, commission submits their budget position message here at the February commission meeting, and then it goes and gets distributed to the mayor and council. In March, there's the mayor's March budget message that's released. And then there's also a public hearing at council to review the mayor's March budget message. And so it's another opportunity for anyone of the public to be engaged in the budget process. In April is when the city manager works with departments and the actual budgets, the proposed budgets are finalized and then eventually published in early May. And so all of those are the proposed operating budgets, proposed capital budget, as well as the proposed fees and charges. In June, there's the mayor's June budget message that's released. It also goes to council for review and approval, another opportunity for any commission and or the public to be engaged in the budget process. And then in mid and late June is when the actual budget is approved and adopted by city council. And so also in May, there are a number of meetings that we will be sharing with you guys. And there's opportunities for you guys to participate in any of those meetings regarding the budget. Next slide. And that completes the budget overview. And so I see there's some hands.
Thank you so much. I feel always when you present this time of year, every year, I feel like, wow, we are in such good hands. I really appreciate the way you lay the presentation out, the way you're talking about what comes in and out. And I really especially appreciate you calling out what still is the challenge. Certainly the 4 hours and fine freeze and our free fines for all. Oh my gosh, please, that is not a good name for it. I'll never say it correctly. But I appreciate how you call it out and then come to the end about it. It's just such a great presentation and I appreciate it every single time. All right, I think the first hand we had was Commissioner Westphal.
Sorry for all the questions. If when you were talking about the budget and the Sunday hours, if there wasn't enough patronage to support the FTEs for the Sunday hours, would that money and that budget be reallocated to another program, or would we lose that money, or what would happen to that?
So at this time, there is a discussion for us to report back to council after Sunday hours is implemented a couple of months, just with a report out on activity. There's not necessarily, I wouldn't say there is a discussion about reallocating those resources. I think that with any given, Jill can probably speak to this because she's in the library world. I don't have that much experience in the actual library world, but I would assume with any given launch that takes time sometimes to ramp up and time for people to really get the word. And then also there's different times a year that there may be more popular usage. And so I
just didn't know if there was a sort of assessment that, after one quarter or after 1 year, you look back and you say, okay, well, this was justifiable to be able to have that extra FTE. So that's just all why I'm asking.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It is actually a good question because the city council did specify that they wanted this to be a pilot year to allow us to analyze just that, the usage trends, the locations, time of day. We're always looking at things like visitors, online users, circulation, computer use, and when and where the most valuable time will be in each community, right? So to your question, yes, we will be looking. I asked for at least 6 months to take a look at how the Sunday hours are developing. And part of the idea was that not necessarily that they would be taken for another program or away from the library, but certainly that our staff time can be reallocated to different times of the week.
Sure.
Or even different locations.
Right.
So we're really looking at, what are the times now that, especially now that we're coming out of the pandemic, things are very, feel very different, and so we're
And going into winter.
Yeah, school just started. That's a huge change in library use. So for the positive, and so we'll be reporting back, and that's a good reminder for us to make sure that we give the commission an update on that as well.
Thank you very much.
Before I get to Commissioner Allen, I would also suggest that it's not just the library hours in the sense of coming in and utilizing the books and materials, but it's also programming. So when libraries put on certain kinds of programming, it certainly attracts community. And ramping up programs for Sunday hours is, of course, going to take a minute. So I certainly would advocate that they give you more than 6 months, but that's just me. All right, Commissioner Allen.
Thank you very much for your report. I'm always blown away by budgets. But will the monies that the library is going to get from the governor's new initiative for renovating public libraries, would that be included in the November, December budget review?
We're going to be, we're scheduled, we're currently drafting a council memo to go to council to recognize those funds. And so it is not included in the numbers that we reviewed today, but it will be included in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Ooh, thank you, Commissioner Allen. I'd forgotten about that. That's great. I'm glad you brought that up. Any other questions from commissioners? As usual, thank you. That was really wonderful.
Thank you.
All right, we're moving on to identify the ad hoc committee to review bond and audit. We're going to receive a report and have a discussion. I think you are up again, my friend.
So we don't have a report. What we typically do is just talk a little bit about the actual process, and then we will ask for volunteers, please. So first, annually, the library parcel tax and the bond fund, the library's bond fund, are audited by an external auditor. And so there's a report that gets printed out and then goes to commission annually in November. And so we have our ad hoc staff that we like to have volunteer to review that report once it is printed and provided to us by the auditor. And so the purpose of the audit is to basically review transactions and ensure that the library is using those funds appropriately for their intended use, whether it be adopted by council or approved by the voters. That's the purpose of the audits. And so they're a financial audit, and the reports, as I indicated, are published annually. And so the goal would be to get some members to volunteer to be part of the ad hoc committee, and they would basically receive the audit, be able to ask questions and just kind of review it for accuracy. There is always a cover letter, so it's not accuracy of the financials. That's the external auditor. There's always a cover letter indicating if there's findings or no findings. And then also in November at our meeting, typically the city's auditor attends the meeting, our commission meeting, to speak on behalf of any questions that may come up. And so,
yeah,
so we're
if I could
looking
just
for
add, I was just going to add that, so some of you have been with us for a while. You may remember that in addition to the annual audit review that happens with the full commission that convenes as the review board for each of these audits, that, over time there should typically, a few commissioners really want to dig more deeply into the audit than or into working with the auditor than the board or the commission venue allows. It always felt, so I think that's why we added this. And so I would say, if any of you are interested in learning about the audit process and getting, your chance to answer lots or ask lots of questions, which then can be shared with your peers on the commission, this would be a good time to volunteer. And you get to work with Andrea, and she's amazing. Thank you.
Amazing. So are any folks willing to excited to volunteer for our audit committee? Ad hoc. Commissioner Ramos, I see your hand. Does that mean you would like to join the group and volunteer?
Yep.
All right, we've got one.
I'm interested. I'm concerned about the time commitment because I wear a lot of hats in my community. So could you give me a sense of like how regularly we would be meeting? I understand it's reviewing the document on your own, but also, we'd be meeting a few times, of course.
Yeah, so what I would do is share the audit from the prior year, just so that you could get familiar with that and read through those. And just for clarification, they're probably about 25 pages each. So they're not large documents. Each audit is about, and it includes text as well as tables. And so then once these audits are actually released, which is going to be hopefully sometime in mid-October, then we would be scheduling time to review them, and I'd share those documents with you guys. And so we would probably have one full actual meeting to review the current audit, and then in advance I would share with you last year's, just to get you familiar with the audit and what it contains and what types of information is included.
And then I'd work on it too then. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Brown. We now have two. I think we're looking for somewhere between 3 and 4. Is that right?
Yeah, 3 would be good if we could.
Other commissioners, it's a great activity, in particular if you're new, because you get to learn about a big portion of our the way we function.
And there's, the next opportunity to volunteer is to be part of our budget ad hoc committee. So if you miss out on this opportunity, at the next commission meeting, we'll be able to volunteer for the budget committee.
That's another fun one. Anyone else? I'm looking. Jill, you're still, I think you're trying, but
I said two is fine. You don't have
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Perfect.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, commissioners. We appreciate it. All right, moving on to our next informational item. We're going to learn about our staff spotlight from West Valley. I'm looking. Oh, there you are. I think
yeah, I'm going to introduce the fabulous branch manager, Rebecca Gonzalez. Normally, as you guys know, and hopefully someday again, we actually rotate the location of our commission meetings so that the commissioners can see and experience and talk to the staff at our branch libraries. And so we'd like to have a presentation from the branch staff as well, so that you can get a sort of a firsthand look. You hear from us all the time, but you're going to hear from the staff who serve their community directly. And so I want to welcome you, Rebecca, and take it over.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today for the branch spotlight of the West Valley branch. It's always exciting to have the opportunity to brag about my amazing team. Next slide, please. So a little bit about me first. I have been with the West Valley Calabasas pairing for going on a year now. I believe my assignment was in November. So I am the senior librarian for both of those locations. Aside from overseeing the day-to-days of both branches, I am involved pretty heavily with the Disability Access Committee on a system-wide level with the support of our amazing Deputy Director, Jenny Choi. And so our committee mission is to make recommendations based on the evaluation of equitable disability access to services, resources, technology, and staff guidelines at SJPL. This was something I was very excited when we put this committee together, because I think it fills a much needed niche, and it really aligns well with the equity initiatives that we are pushing forward as a system and have been for the last several years. So examples of recent projects, we created staff guidelines for how to handle service animals. We do get quite a few people that bring their service animals into the library. And so staff were often confused on how to address it and what questions were appropriate to ask. So we created guidelines to make that a little bit easier. We also created guidelines for the medical exemption, mask exemptions, when that was something that was creating barriers at the library. And then I believe at the last commission meeting, you guys talked about the library by mail project, which we launched. That's still in its pilot phase, but we are learning a lot. And so we are very excited for some of the improvements that we're going to make to streamline the service and make it even more accessible to our customers. We also have recently started offering video remote interpreting for people who may need that coming into the library. So next slide, please. Okay, so the cool thing about West Valley is we serve a very unique demographic, and we often show up on the Equity Needs Index because part of the population we serve is an underserved community. So that gives us a lot of opportunities to pilot new programs. Next slide, please. Okay, and although we've had a lot of staff turnover with our part-time positions, we have had a pretty awesome core team that has helped drive these initiatives and pilots. We have 2 full-time librarians, Randall Studstill and Jessica Chung, as well as a library assistant, Afsane Nasiri, and a full-time clerk, Carol Okano. And then we were very excited because with this new reallocation for Sunday hours, the staff reallocation and addition of positions, we got a part-time librarian that has joined our team. So we're very excited for what this means in terms of expanding our programming for the community. And we will also be getting a full-time clerk. So we are very eagerly waiting a placement for that position. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, because we do serve an under-resourced community, we are often one of the locations that pilots our exciting new initiatives. So we were considered a phase 1 branch when we started the phased reopening of the libraries during the pandemic. So we got to pilot programs like Express Pickup. They did a grab and go pilot. They've been very heavily involved with virtual programming, and they did the limited capacity tech access and reopening. And we were also one of the locations that got the 47-hour expansion. So that's pretty exciting. We have a very, very active friends group, and they do a lot of work to support the West Valley branch. And they were, I believe, the first location to resume in-person book sales when they got the green light to go ahead and do so. They were very, very, very eager to come back. And they, since reopening, they've, I think, hosted 3 book sales, and including bag sales that they have. So they usually have 2-day book sales to utilize our community room to do 2-day book sales. And something exciting that they tried this year is they offered teacher discounts where they would offer the bag discount to teachers for both days, both the regular sale day and the bag sale day. The first time they did it, they had teachers from 10 school districts from all over the Bay Area drive down to fill up their bags. And the teachers were very pleased that they were able to kind of restock their classrooms with some gently used books that were donated by the community. So that was very successful, and they've made quite a bit of revenue to support our programming, which is absolutely wonderful. They've been incredibly generous. We've also done a lot of outdoor programming. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Next slide. But before I do that, I'll talk a little bit about our school partnerships and outreach. Next slide. So we are in a district that has a lot of schools. Moreland, I would say, is one of the, probably in terms of proximity, the one that or the district that's closest to West Valley. So we do get a lot of requests from the Moreland School District for us to attend outreach and for us to do class tours. But we also do service schools from the Fremont Union High School District, the Campbell Union High School District, and the Cupertino School District. So this year, and when I say this year, I mean the 2022. We've had 27 events so far, and we have seen this start to pick up, which is really exciting because during the pandemic, we did not get a lot of invitations to attend outreach events, I think largely because the schools weren't hosting large events. And so there wasn't a lot of opportunity for us to have a presence directly at the school. But now that they have started offering those types of programs, I'm talking about like back to school events, parent teacher events, we've been starting to see an increase in invitations, especially as the new school year has started. There have been days where my librarians have done 3 back-to-back outreach programs in a row. So that's pretty exciting. And they've reached over 1,100 students so far. And that number is in counting. This count was as of the 17th of this month, but they've done outreach since then. So the number just keeps going up. They're reaching a lot of students, a lot of family members, a lot of educators. And we have because of our really awesome partnership, we have student library cards that I know our Student Success Initiative has been very central to building relationships with schools. The example you see in the slide, that was actually a card that was designed by a Moreland school student. So it's nice that they've had so much ownership of this partnership. Next slide, please. All right, so now I'm going to move on to program highlights, which is one of my absolute favorites. Next slide, please. So we have a very robust and diverse program offerings. Obviously, when we were closed to the public, we had to do a lot of in-person programming. So that was a huge pivot for us system-wide, but we were still able to offer programs like virtual Zumba, coding classes. But as we've been able to reopen, we've been able to bring back some of our really big programs. We had our Persian New Year celebration in March, and that brought over 300 people into the library. So that's a pretty huge event that we host annually. And so we were very excited that when we resumed it, it still had a very large turnout. We had a lot of grab and go crafts that we would hand out to families, even when we were closed and not offering in-person programs. And these are basically little programming kits that families can pick up. And so my librarians spent hours and hours and hours cutting out little templates and putting together these little kits that were very popular in the community. They were all usually gone within a day or two. So it was very exciting to see those kind of themed kits cycle. We also hosted programs, paid performer programs, such as the Little Explorers Petting Zoo. Again, this is generously funded by our Friends of the Library. The petting zoo will usually bring 200 plus people to the library. So we do have quite a few high traffic programs that we've been able to resume this year, which has been very exciting. Next slide, please. In terms of outdoor programming, we were one of the first locations to start offering an outdoor story time. We have a really wonderful patio area, and we consistently get close to 50 people at these story time programs. And we have recently moved it indoors because it's been very, very hot. And so families didn't want to sit out on the patio anymore, but we kind of pushed it as long as we could because it was actually a very nice environment for the families until the heat started picking up. So now we are doing indoor again, but we're still getting the same turnout. We also have a reading to children. We also have reading to children programs. We currently have one in Japanese that's regularly attended, I think, by around 30 people. And we're looking at the possibility of starting reading to children programs in other languages as well. So right now we're in the process of recruiting volunteers to do that. We also have tech mentor programs, math Olympiad programs. We had a really awesome summer learning kickoff event, and we supported the summer lunch initiative, not this summer, but the previous summer. And then we did summer snacks this summer. So next slide, please. So that's just a very quick little highlight of some of the things that we have done over the last couple of years or so. And like I said, we're very excited. We're going to be one of the locations that's open for Sunday hours. So we are very excited for what that means in terms of programming and increasing our resources for the community. If you have any questions now, I can answer them. You can also email me. I'm always happy to talk about the branch. and I'm always happy to answer questions.
Thank you. That was also, I can't believe I always think this, how many different kinds of creative activities and ways to serve community that each branch does differently and the same. It's just great. I really appreciate it. Are there commissioners that either have comment, question, or want to let Rebecca know how much we appreciate her? Commissioner Kelly.
Sure. Thank you very much. That was a wonderful presentation, and it's particularly appropriate because I used to live in District 1, and I was, you're smiling. You don't remember me because you probably weren't around. Anyway, my wife was the city council member at when the library was transformed into the first LEED accredited library in the United States. So that's something to be proud of. The West Valley Library, in my opinion, has always been a great leader in the community. Community leader myself in District 1, we always appreciated that. And I also was the originator of the Friends of the West Valley Library. So glad to see that they're still pumping along. They've been also very helpful in helping set up the initial Bascom Friends group as well. So thank you for that presentation. That's great. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen.
I also want to thank you very much, especially to your friends group for offering the bag program to educators, because teachers spend an awful lot of money out of pocket, and what we can get from the book sales at the library is just wonderful. So thank you to your friends for doing that.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen. Any others? Commissioner Brown.
I was grateful for the positive attitude towards pioneering. It's it's a hit or miss situation. You get put in on a regular basis, and I appreciate that you seem to have it's in you to just embrace the situation. And it sounds like you have a great team that works that way too. And so that's just fantastic to hear. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else? Last call. All right. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you and all the work you're doing. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you again for inviting me.
Absolutely. All right. We are going to move on to the council liaisons announcements. And I think I saw Mariella.
I am here.
Oh, there you are. Yep. Welcome, Mariella.
Thank you so much. Hi, good evening. I'm Mariela Garcia with Councilwoman Arenas' office. I wanted to wish everyone a happy National Literacy Month and Hispanic Heritage Month. So last month, we let you know that the city auditor was going to present a report on the Bill of Rights for the Children and Youth Audit to the Neighborhood Services and Education Committee. So that's the NSC committee. I wanted to update you and let you know that the item has been cross-referenced to the City Council, and it will be heard on Tuesday, October 4th. And so just a little reminder, a little background, the Youth Commission and the City Council approved an updated version of the Bill of Rights for Children and Youth last year. And so the objective of this audit was really to review the city's adherence to that Bill of Rights. And so some great recommendations have already come from that. The Youth Commission is going to hear the auditor's report this Monday, September 26th at their general meeting. And I wanted to make sure that you knew that your feedback is also welcome. The report can be accessed on the city auditor's webpage. And so if you have any feedback or questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, the City Council is going to hear the auditor's report at the City Council meeting on Tuesday, October 4th, which starts at 1:30 p.m. And so we'll make sure to keep you updated on that process. And I also wanted to let you know that Mayor Liccardo will be delivering the State of the City address at the California Theater tomorrow, if you haven't already heard. So that's tomorrow, Thursday, September 22nd at 6 p.m. at the California Theater, which is in downtown San Jose. And so you are certainly invited to join us. It's going to be a celebration of the extraordinary accomplishments and contributions of San Joseans. And there's also going to be performances by local artists. And so I know that RSVPs are encouraged. So you can RSVP at bit.ly/stateofthecity 2022, or you can also tune in live on the city's YouTube page tomorrow. And that's all for me.
Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And please let the councilwoman know we appreciate her.
Of course.
Thank you. All right, moving on, chair's announcement. I just have two. I want to say that it seems like, although this is a bit of an exaggeration, everywhere I go, presentations or folks are talking about our family, friend, and neighbor programming, and either they're talking about it as it reaches out to work with others. I went to Strong Start and listened to the presentation in its expanded growth along with its partners at Grail Family Services and Franklin McKinley Children's Initiative. And I am constantly amazed at how well that particular program is doing to build capacity for folks taking care of children, and the ability for the library to see itself as a city in childcare. When people sometimes say, maybe electeds or some folks might say, oh, childcare is not, that's not the city's function. I think that the library in particular takes that and says, oh, I'm not so sure. Let's see if we can work on workforce. Then so the growth of it, the expansion of it, the breadth of it, the awards it's receiving is tremendous. So I just love that everywhere I go, at least in this last month, 4 times in 4 different venues, I've heard folks talking about it or a presentation happening. So I just wanted to share that. And the other is, again, around the state of the city address. Who knows when the final video cut happens, but the mayor's interns asked me to do a piece of it around childcare and childcare in the city. And I certainly highlighted all the work of the Library and Education Commission and the mayor's efforts around the FFN and his own budget message investments in the 2nd year. It's just amazing. So I will be at the event as well. But it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, that's me. I would say a lot of other things, but I'm quite sure Jill's got them. So I'm going to pass it on to the chair, or sorry, the library director.
Thank you, Chair Wendy. I just have a couple of items tonight. One is a big one that you're aware of, that for the first time in the library's history, more than half of our branch libraries will be open on Sundays starting October 2nd, 2022 at 16 of our 25 locations. So we can all have an internal cheer about that. We've been working for this for years, and the commission have been huge advocates. One of the most constant presences at every single community budget meeting. So thank you so much for all your support. Expanding hours does mean that our public will have more frequent access to both physical materials, to technology, to in-person support, all 7 days of the week across every council district in the city. This historic move, of course, came after City Council approved our fiscal year 22-23 operating budget on June 21st, 2022, which includes the library's expansion of hours and is in direct response to the community's request for Sunday hours. The library will pilot Sunday hours, as we said earlier, from noon to 5 at these branch libraries: Alviso, the Dr. Roberto Cruz Alum Rock branch, Bascom, Berryessa, Biblioteca Latinoamericana, Cambrian, East San Jose Carnegie branch, Edenvale, Educational Park, Evergreen, Hillview, Joyce Ellington, Seven Trees, Tully Community Library, Vineland, and West Valley branch. The branches were selected using both the library's equity index, but also assessing the geographic location and distribution of branches and reviewing circulation and usage data. So to celebrate this historic milestone, of course, our award-winning marketing communications team, we call them Marcom, has developed a slogan, which is Sundays just got sweeter at the library. And the library will invite the public to stop by any of our 16 branches to enjoy an ice cream sundae provided by Mr. Softy on Sunday, October 2nd, courtesy of our San Jose Public Library Foundation. So thank you to the foundation and our team. And I just popped in the chat if you'd like more information, including the ice cream schedule at each location, which is extremely important to me. Please go to sjpl.org/Sunday. Next, sorry, I thought there was a comment.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. Next, it is actually National Library Card Sign-Up Month. For the last 35 years, the American Library Association and libraries across the US have joined forces to ensure that people of all ages sign up for library cards during the month of September. So here at San Jose Public Library, we celebrate and thank our 735,000 library card members and our committed staff who provide San Joseans with equitable access to critical services year-round. So if you think about the 735,000 is a huge membership for a library, and it's been increasing year on year for the last at least 5 years. As you know, a library card means having exclusive access to a collection of more than 2 million books, physical and digital, technology devices, learning resources, movies, and other educational materials. Before September comes to an end, we invite you to celebrate with SJPL by signing up for your free library card membership or encouraging your friends and family to sign up for a card. And I'll put in the chat the address it is /membership. And that concludes my report tonight.
Thank you. And thank you, Jose. Good, we're a team. All right, moving on to comments and announcements. Are there folks that want to make any comments or announcements from their friends groups? Commissioner Kelly.
Sure, thank you very much. Bascom Library is hosting a book sale on October 15th, and we are copying the West Valley program for library books for teachers. Also, donations are just pouring into the various branches for the friends groups, and it's it's good and bad. It creates a lot of materials that we have to sell and for the programs, but it also creates a problem with what we do with all that stuff. So working on that program, what to do with leftovers from sales and extra material that we really can't use. I came across that Better Worlds Books, which is a national recycling agency, is hosted by San Jose Public Library System. So I started working with them yesterday and got Bascom signed up along with the 7 other branches that have been in the program. So I'll reach out with the other branches and let them know that that program is available free of charge to them to get rid of their excess material that they come up and pay the library for. That is it.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, moving on, meetings attended by commissioners as commissioners. Are there any commissioners that would like to share about that? Commissioner Kelly, is your hand up from before or is it up again?
It should be down. I haven't gotten to that. There it is, lower hand.
No worries. Commissioner Zisser.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier attending the Hillview reopening event. Just wanted to reiterate that. Brought my family. It was an amazing event. So I got to meet Jean in person and Jill in person and talked to folks in attendance there. Lots of booths with information for people. I learned a lot about the incident itself that I did not know about the shooting, and that, as I said earlier, sort of really reinforced my appreciation in this role for the folks doing the work at the libraries, and particularly around that incident, keeping people safe and addressing the trauma from that. So, but it was a great event. I was happy to see so much attendance, and there was great food, and really just appreciated the vitality there after such an experience that folks had there at the library, and appreciated people catching me up, filling me in, and welcoming me there.
Thank you. Commissioner Thorson.
So I didn't really attend as a commissioner, but just wanted to tell everyone I had gone taken my daughter for the first time to the We Explore at the MLK library, and we had gone to the groundbreaking before the pandemic and hadn't been back. So it was really fun to take her this past weekend to play with that, because she's going to soon be too old for it, but she really enjoyed that. So thank you to everyone who made that happen. And also wanted to say that at the same time, there happened to be a bilingual English-Spanish story time, and I hadn't taken her to an in-person story time in like 3 years. And she just started learning Spanish in bilingual kindergarten, so it was perfect. And so wanted to say the librarians who lead that are fantastic, and made these 3 quiet children by the end of the hour just shouting out and having such a wonderful time. So really recommend attending that on Saturday afternoons at MLK if you can.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Reyes.
Oh, yes. I would like to say that I will be there tomorrow to support for the 22nd fundraising of the Guelph Family Services. Because at the same time, working in the same organization, that how the library is supporting for the early childhood education program, that for all the partnership that you do. And secondly, I would like to appreciate everyone for the hard work to make it possible that we're opening our Sunday hours, because mostly of the educator they're not available Monday to Friday to borrow some book. The Sunday will be helpful for everyone. That what some of the feedback I heard from the family and some of the educators too. So I want to kudos to everyone, especially for all the stuff to make it possible, and for everybody, all the commissioners. And that's it.
Thank you so much. I just have one quick thing reminded me, because Commissioner Thorson said, I don't know that I was a commissioner, but I went and saw this. So at the Silicon Valley Pride Parade, I got to see the Makerspace. I was so excited to see our Makerspace there. In fact, I was with another board member who his wife and daughter went in and was doing a bunch of activities, and I was really proud as a commissioner to see it there and actually see folks using it that I know that didn't know about it. So anyway, not as a commissioner, but was super proud. All right, we are moving right along. I don't see any more hands, but to the San Jose Public Library Foundation Board with Commissioner Thorson.
Hey everyone, I have this month's update. So as I mentioned last month, the 35th anniversary gala for the foundation is coming up on October 20th, and you can still buy tickets. They're $135 a piece, and I'll just drop the link into the chat. Or if you want to get a bundle of 8 and have a party within a party, you can get 8 tickets for $1,000. And if you're interested in doing that, you can email Dawn, who's the executive director, and I'll put in her email address too. And it's going to be a really fun night. It's going to be at the MLK Library with an Alice in Wonderland theme, and there will be an auction and a lot of other fun activities. So if you are rejoining the world after staying home during the pandemic, I would definitely suggest attending. They're also still looking for corporate sponsors and auction items. So if you work for someone or know of someone who works for a corporation that likes to support the library, then you can email Jody Pulliam or give her a call at the foundation, and she's working on making those connections. So I hope I will see you all there October 20th. It should be a lot of fun and will be benefiting the foundation and the library. And then the other thing I wanted to mention was the foundation board had their latest meeting earlier in September and continue to work on their strategic plan that has 3 goals for the foundation through December 2024. Those goals are to increase fundraising, expand the brand name recognition, and build organizational capacity. I don't have any updates about the advocacy committee that consists of SJPLF board members, commissioners, and friends of the library members, but we should be getting a meeting at some point together in the fall, because as we saw with our budget updates, there's a lot to advocate for this coming year. And also the foundation is trying to recruit new board members. So if any of you have recommendations for prospective members, you can email Dawn their contact info and why they'd be a good addition to the board in 2023. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, let's see, we're closing in on the last couple items. Of course, if you want information about upcoming, Commissioner Allen, did I miss you? I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to make a comment.
Please do.
To Commissioner Thorson. I would really love to attend that event, but as a retired public school teacher on a very limited income, fixed income, that's kind of a steep price, and so I will not be able to attend. I'm sorry.
Noted. I will pass on that feedback.
Thank you, Commissioner Allen and Commissioner Thorson. So of course, information for upcoming opportunities for our participation, you can visit the SJPL website. And let's see, items for future meetings. Are there any folks that want us to consider, or want staff actually to consider items for future meetings that are not currently on our work plan agenda? Looking around, one more page. All right, looks like no, we'll keep moving on. It looks like our next regular meeting will be held virtually on October 19th at 7 p.m. We are at 8:40, and without any further ado or any questions, will adjourn our meeting. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye.
Night, everybody.
Bye.